Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week we've got the Alfarrari back off of the hoist and it's time to start having a look at these windows. Alright guys, welcome back, and if you were watching last week you will have seen that I made up this really big, odd looking, complicated cover for my, to sort of cover the dry sump oil hose and also the brake and master cylinders that are under the car. There was a couple of comments, not much on this one, just about the clearance under the car, and this probably only really lowers the underside by the thickness of the sheet, which is 0.9 of a millimetre, and the size of the louvers. There were some comments saying that I could have done the louvers going upwards. It would have saved me a little bit of clearance, but I feel that it would drain better with the louvers dropping down, so they're at a low point, and just to help with any drainage if there is anything in there. Yes, this all will be painted, covered, stone guarded, all the rest of it when we get to it. But if you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up. And today we are going back over to the car, and I think it's time to start having a look at these windows. So I'm not one to hold back on this car, and I thought it would be nice to improve it and make it as sort of luxurious as possible, and that means I would like to fit some electric windows to this car. So obviously it did not come with electric windows, but I have all of the old window parts here. So to start with, I had to actually reinstall all of the window hardware back into the shelves of the doors. Now thankfully I have this spare complete door that I got with the car. I think this might have actually been the original door that was rusted out, so they replaced it with these other ones. It's still full of rust, but the window's still in it. Everything is still there, ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is start grabbing all these bits and pieces and trying to reassemble the door, get the glass, get all the runners back in, get everything ready to go, so then we can start having a look and see how difficult it's going to be to make this thing electric. Alright, so I bought this universal electric window kit. It's designed for flat glass windows, which is what we have. There's no curve in the glass in the Alfa, so this will work. The instructions are pretty much non-existent. There's a little bit of instruction on how to wire it, but that's about it. There's no instructions on fitting it. Obviously it's universal fitment, so you just got to wing it. Just playing around with it though, they currently work. If I play around with this, you can see that the window motor goes up and down. So I need to now put this in the car and see if I can sort of clamp it onto the window. I'm going to have to trim the rail up near the top just so that I get the right amount of travel. But besides that, it's all a bit of suck it and see and try and get it in the car to work. Alright, so I've now mounted my window back in again, and I've put my rubber in all the way around the outside, or my trim rubber in, ready to sort of line up with the door. And I've got these universal electric window mounts. As I said, there's no real instructions. They don't seem to have any limit on the up travel, so I'm going to have to do something about that. And what I'll probably just end up doing is just, I've cut this top rail off. I'm just going to weld a cap onto it so that this nylon stopper can stop on it. I might put some rubber in there or something. At the bottom they have like a rubber stopper, so I could probably add something like that into the cap. But these things are designed with, basically it's just got the clamp on the top that clamps onto the windows, onto the base of the window, and then you just sort of bolt this in the same angle that it currently, the glass slides as it slides standard, follow the current rails, and it should basically go in. The only problem I've found is that this top section pivots. It's designed to pivot in this direction because it's designed for the window motor to go to the back portion of the door. The trouble is that on this door, because of the bulges and stuff in it, there's better space at the front. So I have to just change these little elongated holes. I need to make a little bit more room to tilt, and then we'll be able to swap them around and use them on the other sides to what they've obviously designed them. As for the length, what I did is I've measured the total travel of the window. So from where the window is all the way at the bottom, all the way up to its full extent, measured that, and then wound the carrier all the way to the bottom and then measured that distance at the top. So I know that it can move the total distance the same as what the window travels, and that's where I cut it off. So relatively straightforward. Let's try and play around with this and see if I can get enough movement. Before we cap anything off, I just want to make sure everything fits. So I've left a bit of extra length here just in case. Let's get them in there. Anybody who's interested in these things, I'll put a link to these in the description if you want to have a look and give them a go yourself. All right, so I've got my basic frame in here. I only had to drill a couple of extra holes into the bracket just to tilt the glass holder in the right direction. So now you can see these are my runners over this end. So the glass sort of goes up and down in this sort of motion, and this center is loosely in line. It's still not lock solid. I've got it sort of roughly in place, and what I want to do now is, I don't know how high or low it was. As you might have seen, I welded over the ends of, here's the other motor. I just welded the end over, so I have a stop at the top of the run, so the motor can't go above that. Now I've got to work out exactly where it goes, and the unit comes with these bars that I can sort of bolt in somewhere to sort of lock this center plate in. There's another little bolt section down here to lock the bottom in, and then there's an arm on the motor itself that's also designed to be able to lock the motor into place, so you can sort of bolt it into the car. It actually, now I've got it in there, it actually makes reasonable sense the way it's all laid out. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to raise the window up to its highest point, sit it in the car where it needs to be, make sure the glass is all right, and do some temporary strapping. And I might actually just use some of this cheap strapping roll I got from a hardware store and some self-tappers just to sort of lock it roughly in place, just to make sure that everything works the way it's supposed to. And then we can make the real brackets mount up and fit in the way they're supposed to, and lock it in place. Well, you can see the window is working, but it's not actually reaching its limits. It's sitting about 10 mil low at least at the top here, and it's hitting the motor on the bottom end. So a bit more reworking. So that's the main reason why I use this strapping rather than put it in permanently. At least with this strapping, I know I can move it up, move it down, get it right, and then I can bolt it in permanently. So a little bit more tweaking, but the fact that I can actually get the window to go up and down remotely is amazing. Oh. Ow. I crushed my finger. Look at the dent in that. Ouch. I wound the window down with my finger trying to hold the motor back stupidly, and then it got stuck and I couldn't reach to switch things around, and thankfully I could reach a screwdriver and get some leverage and get my finger out. Not smart. Don't do that. All right, well, I've spent far too much time now, over an hour, raising the window up and down, up and down, up and down, trying to get the alignment all perfect. And I realised I need to mount it in solidly. I've got it pretty close. So now I'm going to go through and start using some of the straps that it came with. These are sort of heavier duty than this sort of flimsy stuff, bendy stuff that I've got here temporarily. Let's mount it up properly, and then we'll be able to, there's enough adjustment in this to get it just right once the car is completely together. I can't just sort of bash my head against the wall too long on this stuff because, yeah, until it's solid, it's going to keep moving. All right, so I have finally one side sorted out. I have my new little bracket made up in here just to give the right spacing for the tilt for the runner for the electric motor. One door down, let's go and do the other side. Hopefully now I have a bit more of an idea of how to set this all up. It should go a bit quicker, but yeah, I'm not going to count my chickens yet, just yet. All right, so that was still several hours work. I had to make up a similar bracket that I did on the other side, and I've mounted it all basically the same way as I've done over the other side on the car. And now we actually have a window on this side that winds all the way down and all the way up. Now, there's still probably some more adjustment needed on that to get it all flowing perfectly, but that's all a matter of just slight adjustments when I finally put the car together. Yeah, I mean, it all works. It's just fiddly. There's just so many little like sort of tweaks one way or tweaks the other way to actually get it to ride smoothly. I'm actually surprised that these units are actually not very heavy, so we're not adding a whole bunch of weight. I know a lot of people keep talking about all the guards and stuff I'm putting on this car and the weight I'm adding to this car. I still don't think this car is going to be that much heavier than a standard one, but we'll see. But electric windows is a nice touch. It's just going to just make this car a nice, usable, everyday car. But I think that's it. I think I'm out of time this week, so I think it means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, another car Ferrari developed in 1952 was the 340 Mexico, and it was developed for use in the Carrera Panamericana. The car used a 4.1 litre Lampredi V12 producing 280 horsepower. Just 4 were made, 3 Berlinettas and 1 Spider. All were designed by Giovanni Michelotti at Vignali. Luigi Canetti came third in the race, which was similar to the Mille Miglia, but across Mexico and considered to be one of the most dangerous of its kind in the world. And the Ferrari was no match that year for the large-scale factory effort by Mercedes with their fleet of 300 SLs. Famously, the race was won by Carl Kling, despite hitting a vulture at 200 kilometers an hour, which impacted through the windscreen and briefly knocked out his co-driver, Hans Klink. Klink ordered Kling to keep going, and they continued for 70 kilometers until they got to the next fuel stop where they were able to clean up. They then put metal bars over the windscreen, which of course they had to replace for added protection. Interestingly, Klink was the first co-driver to ever use pre-prepared pace notes in the race, and that's a practice that's still in place to this very day.
All right, well, that was reasonably successful. We have electric windows in the car now, and I still have my finger, just. Don't do that.
At least it wasn't attacked by a vulture.
No, that is true. But
can always be worse, Jeff.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But anyway, yes, I've still got more interesting little additions to do next week, so hopefully you'll join us on that one.
Oh, and if you're noticing that Jeff's hair is getting very long and luscious, it's because he isn't able to go to the hairdresser at the moment.
No, lockdown.
So I've offered to do it myself, but he doesn't want me to.
But it just means I spend more time in the garage getting more work done. So, all right, well, if you want to watch the videos a day early,
Patreon, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, let Jeff know what you think. He likes reading your commens.
And we'll see you in the next one. See you guys.
Was the 340 Mexicana. It was developed...
Mexicana? Sounds like a...
taco.
Yeah.
Sounds delicious. 240 horsepower. Damn it. Carl Kling and Hans Klink. Carl Kling, Hans Klink. The race was won by Carl Kling. Did I say one?
You said run.
It works, man.